Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about an incident that happened out in the city of Oakland, where a 77-year-old homeowner was confronted with 3 potential or alleged, however you want to call it, burglars that entered his property, appeared to have tools ready for a break-in and potentially to intimidate this person, and he responded by then shooting one of these suspected burglars, who ultimately ended up dying. And unsurprisingly, in the city of Oakland, with a woke district attorney like Pamela Price, who never prosecutes anyone for anything, the homeowner was completely let go and not even arrested. Well, of course not. That's obviously not what happened. The homeowner was arrested under suspicion of murder because, you know, when 3 burglars approach your property and you shoot to defend yourself against those burglars, you committed the premeditated act of burglary and self-defense. Does that even exist? Now, we're going to get into this whole story. I'm going to give you the details. I'm going to explain to you everything you need to know about this case. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Shooting in the city of Oakland, KTVU has learned the homeowner who shot and killed a burglary suspect has been arrested.
And he remains behind bars while the DA considers whether to file charges.
So right off the top, I do want to point out a few things for those of you out there in the audience. One, this occurred in Oakland, meaning it's under the jurisdiction of Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price, who is notorious for not prosecuting crime. In fact, we've done stories about Home Depot employees that were murdered trying to stop shoplifters for revenge because they prevented them from stealing, and Pamela Price reduced the charges in that case. We also had an incident where a 2-year-old who was killed in a shootout, basically these 2 rival gang members were shooting at each other, ended up not receiving justice because Pamela Price said, you know, these guys were engaged in mutual combat. It was gang shooting one side to the other, and Jasper Wu, being 2 years old, shouldn't have been there in the first place. And there are many other notorious cases of legitimate murder not being prosecuted seriously, including one case that I've highlighted repeatedly on this channel, where a person was accused of 3 homicides and Pamela Price ended up giving him a deal where he pled guilty to only one of those homicides, but instead of being a murder charge, it was manslaughter, and he was going to get 15 years for those homicides. Now, included in that was the fact that this guy killed a state's witness, allegedly, that was testifying against his brother, who again should have been under the care and protection of the Alameda County District Attorney, among many other obvious instances of things you want to take seriously, because that's who Pamela Price is. So unsurprisingly, in this case, she charged the homeowner, the 77-year-old man, and he is looking at potentially a life sentence because the biggest crime in the city of Oakland is not catering, bowing down, and worshiping the criminal.
Yeah, I've learned the 77-year-old homeowner has been arrested on suspicion of murder, but it remains to be seen as to whether he'll be formally charged and whether this is a case of self-defense. A burglary suspect was shot by a resident near 98th Avenue and Burr Street in East Oakland. Oakland firefighters and paramedics worked to save the suspect, but he died at the scene. Now, I've learned the 77-year-old homeowner is in jail, arrested by Oakland police on suspicion of murder.
Now, to be clear, the man in question has not been formally charged in the state of California by the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, which again, I find to be incredibly interesting because he was arrested under suspicion of murder. He is being held without bond. He cannot get out of jail, even though, again, he's 77 years old, and in this particular instance, even though it involves a homicide, one would think he is unlikely to reoffend unless somebody were to, you know, enter his property again with 2 other individuals and burglary tools and threaten him and his life and his property and his home. So the idea that this person, of all people, becomes held without bond when all those other cases I told you about Pamela Price went soft on is shameful.
It happened just before 6 on Monday evening. Authorities say 2 men and a woman pulled up to the home in the stolen Infiniti Q40. A witness told police the 3 went onto the property.
Now, I really want you guys to understand the setup to this particular case so you can get how absurd it is that this person is in jail awaiting pending charges. And the first thing I want you to take note of is what they said right there. This car that pulled up was a stolen Infiniti. So a stolen Infiniti rolls up to the scene of a potential burglary, and 3 individuals get out. And by the way, I want to make this clear, while one of the individuals, just one, is being charged under suspicion of burglary or was arrested under suspicion of burglary, as of right now, at the time of me recording this video, it does not appear that there is charges for the stolen car that these people came up in. On top of that, we have 2 survivors of this attempted burglary, and it appears that one of them is being charged, not 2. And the reason why this is absolutely crucial is when you get into the details, you realize that they were all acting in concert with one another.
A witness told police the 3 went onto the property and that one of the men had a crowbar. That witness then reported hearing a gunshot.
Now, like they said, 3 people right here went onto the property. One of them had a crowbar, so when I say suspected of burglary or burglary suspects, I want you to understand that there's actually strong evidence to indicate that these were in fact burglary suspects, that they were in fact going to break into this home. That's why they pulled up to the home. That's why they approached the property. That's probably why they came in a stolen car. And again, I want you to understand all of these bits of details, because a lot of people are going to immediately jump to the castle doctrine, but one of the things I want to explain to you is that even absent the castle doctrine, I believe that there is grounds for self-defense. Like, this didn't need to occur in a home. This doesn't need to be a castle doctrine case. And the reason for that is because A, we already have the burglary tools. We already have multiple potential attackers. And on top of that, a 77-year-old burglary victim. But even worse than that, there's something else that makes this a potentially life or death situation.
I've learned from court documents that according to police, officers arrived and found the homeowner pointing a stolen .357 Colt Python revolver at the female suspect. That woman told police the homeowner had shot her friend.
Okay, so when the police show up to this particular scene, the 77-year-old homeowner is holding the female after shooting one of the males at gunpoint. Now, they say that this .357 Magnum Python, Rick Grimes' gun from The Walking Dead, was actually stolen, but as of right now, we don't appear to have charges for the possession of the stolen gun, just like we don't appear to have charges, again, as of right now, for the stolen vehicle. But what's interesting is that there's a third suspect that is also on the property. Remember, you have the first 2, one has a crowbar and all of that, and that person has a replica firearm.
They say they found the other male suspect at the scene with a replica gun and arrested him on suspicion of burglary.
And this is why, in my opinion, it is incredibly crucial to not just say, castle doctrine, I'm going to leave it right there, the homeowner is justified, which, by the way, I actually think is a fair analysis, because even absent the castle doctrine, even with the most left-wing interpretation, which is what you're going to get from a district attorney like Pamela Price, you have 3 individuals. One of them is presenting a firearm. Now, it turned out to be a replica, turned out to be a non-firing gun. And what is this person supposed to do? Is he supposed to engage in a karate battle when one person has a crowbar, you have another woman there, and an additional person who is presenting a gun? Obviously not. Now, if you want to talk about potentially charging the 77-year-old man with possession of a stolen firearm, then that's perfectly fine. Although it is kind of bad because in this particular situation, even though he had that firearm, he ended up using that to defend his life against 3 potential attackers. Obviously, in my opinion, with intent to do harm to him, to steal from him. So to be clear, I don't even think I would do that in this particular case, but that would be the only thing that you should be able to charge somebody with. And I'm of the belief that whether it's a stolen gun or an unlicensed gun or an unregistered gun, depending on your state laws, if you're in a legitimate self-defense situation, I don't think you should be charged with that. And I want to make this clear, I do not think you using a stolen weapon should prevent you from actually using your self-defense rights. I find that to be a ridiculous proposition. Again, just because the gun ownership may be illegitimate in this particular case doesn't mean that the self-defense threat wasn't real, and therefore it doesn't mean that the self-defense actually as a defense isn't legitimate.
No charges have been filed against the homeowner, pending a review by the Alameda County DA's office. No one answered the door on Tuesday.
So right now they say the decision is pending for Thursday. As of the time of me recording this video, I believe that is tomorrow, unless today's Tuesday way, and I might be absolutely insane in every possible way, but the fact of the matter is, we have a district attorney who does not ever enforce the law, tries to avoid holding people pre-trial in all these different various contexts, but in this particular context, with this particular suspect, she's holding him at age 77 until at least Thursday, when they're going to decide whether or not they're going to bring charges. And in my mind, this is an absurd proposition, but it is not out of line with what these left-wing district attorneys often believe and practice in that office. The criminal, the people actually damaging society, these three individuals who stole a vehicle, were going to break into this property, had a replica firearm and a crowbar on them, those people are treated as the victim. They're innocent angel Aladdins. We need to protect them. And by the way, I just want to point out for everyone in the audience that in reality, they should be charged with this murder under felony murder law because they all participated in what would have been the burglary. They all participated in the grand theft auto. And as a result of those crimes, those felonies, guess what? Someone died, so that's felony murder. But instead, we're having a debate. We're having a conversation. We're having a discussion. The Alameda District Attorney is holding somebody pre-trial who defended himself from the perpetrators or the alleged perpetrators of all those different various felonies.
It's going to be a pending case.
On Tuesday, I caught up with DA Pamela Price at an unrelated news conference, and she and other law enforcement officials said no assumptions should be made just because the homeowner is in jail. Prosecutors have until Thursday to decide whether to charge him.
It's rather disgusting to see this truth laid bare before our eyes, that the law-abiding citizen, or the mostly law-abiding citizen, is the one subject to prosecution or potential prosecution, harsh treatment by the system, and the criminals are often catered to.
I've learned to decline to talk to investigators.
You're not supposed to chase them. If you chase them and shoot them, for example, in the back, that is unlawful.
But KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardoza says depending on the facts, the homeowner could still argue self-defense.
If you are in imminent fear of your life or someone else's life in your home, you have every right to take necessary means of self-defense against the invader.
So right here we have somebody making the case that potentially what's going on in this particular situation is that the homeowner chased one of these robbers and then ultimately ended up leading to shooting him. But as far as I could tell, as of right now, one shot appears to be what was fired into this person. Unless there are reports of multiple shots, I'm going based on what the news is reporting right now. So it would be weird for these people to just suddenly run away from said homeowner in this particular instance. And again, to argue that this was a bloodthirsty guy not firing in defense of himself and he was just looking to do harm really does not jive with the facts as presented. Again, you have three people coming to this property, breaking in, ready to attack, crowbar, fake gun, ready to intimidate, and only one of them got shot. Another person was held via gunpoint, and he did not shoot that person. This does not exactly present itself as a situation where this guy was just waiting to kill someone. And again, this all wouldn't have happened. It all wouldn't have occurred unless, of course, they initiated. Now, of course, I will allow for more facts and evidence to come out. You do, at a certain point, when somebody is completely retreated from a situation, when they disengage, lose that window of self-defense. I want you guys to think about self-defense as a window in which you are allowed to engage. And yes, this also applies to a castle doctrine situation. If somebody is fleeing your property, even if they were in your property and you caught them mid-burglary and they're gone, they hop the fence and you fire a shot into them as they're entering their car, which, by the way, is not what went down in this particular situation, you could end up in legal trouble no matter what we think of the criminal. And believe me, I'm very harsh on the criminal on this channel very often. So I'm going to make that statement as a statement of fact, as a statement of law, because I don't want anybody out there in my audience to misinterpret what I'm saying, especially considering all the different variances based on all the different states in this union. And on top of that, when you have district attorneys like this, you're always going to get the worst reading. But again, we will wait for the charges if they are to be filed. But I just want to point out how this shakes out and how this has been treated in comparison to different other various cases where Pamela Price appears to have gone out of her way to go soft on the criminal. But of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you believe we just don't have enough information right now and we should wait? Or do you think this is clearly a self-defense case? It should be covered under the Castle Doctrine if it isn't. And even without the Castle Doctrine, it's also a self-defense case based on the imminent threat that was presented to said homeowner. Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, you show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about somebody potentially facing murder charges for defending his home. Till next time.